I had a great 5 days here. This has been one of the best conferences I've ever been to. I'd like to thank everyone, the organizing committee, everyone involved, everybody who came all this way, and everybody who came from here to see us. It was great. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank everyone here for making this a really wonderful conference, Wikimania 2007. It was lovely to hear all the presentations from the different members of the community, and from the advisory board, from the people coming from the local area, and thank you for a wonderful conference.
Hi, I'm Mike Godwin. I'm General Counsel for the Wikimedia Foundation. I'm very, very lucky to be working for Wikimedia Foundation and for the great community of contributors and editors that have been making these projects so successful. I look forward to working with each and every one of you, but don't all email me at the same time. Thank you.
My name is Sue Gardner. I work with the Wikimedia Foundation. I've actually been on the job for 12 days, and this is my very first Wikimania, and it's my first exposure to the community, and I'm really, really enjoying myself. People have been really welcoming, and it's fantastic.
We didn't install Wikimedia community. Let's keep the work going on.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the last day of Wikimania 2007. These are our last 2 official sessions of the conference here. And it's been a tradition at Wikimanias for you folks to meet the Board of Trustees of the Wikimedia Foundation. And for those following this, you will notice that in July we had the latest board elections, and we have a new board member here. And I will leave it to Florence to give you some introductory remarks and introduce the board to you and have them provide some comments, and then we'll take questions from the crowd. Thanks.
Peter. Before everything, I've been asked to tell you that there was a photo time just after Jimbo's speech. So I'm not exactly sure at which time it will be now, since there is some delay. But after Jimbo's speech, there is a photo time planned. So don't move away too quickly if you want to be in the big picture. Okay, so election time. I just wanted to do an introduction about that. First, to remind you very quickly the role of the board and how we are chosen. We currently normally have seven board members, and one of them is missing. But other than that, we normally, amongst the 7 of us, are 4 elected people. Currently, 4 elected people and 3 appointed ones. So we recently replaced some people. We have still Kat, and we have Eric, and we have Frida. The 3 of them were elected from among the community and by the community. And I will in particular address myself to the Chinese people here, except for someone who is still participating, as far as I know, called Shizao. 3 years ago, there were never any Chinese candidate to the board, so I hope it will change in the future. And as far as I know, there was also a rather limited participation. So now that you met all of us and that we talked together, of course you know what it is about, so you can join. Aside from that, the main point, I think, is that the board is not some people you absolutely do not know and, you know, big people somewhere. It's just, well, us trying to do more or less as best as we can. We can make errors sometimes, but we try the best. And it's the opportunity for you to ask questions about the roles, what we have been doing in the past year, what we intend to do in the coming year, and all this type of question. So the best, I think, is that all of us present each other in one after each other. We can either talk about what you have been doing on the board in the past or in other type of activities, in particular for Frida, since she's a newcomer. So just to do a very quick summary about me, I joined the project in 2002 on the English Wikipedia and then on the French one. I'm only bilingual, unfortunately. And I joined the board in June 2004. So I basically have been on the board since the very beginning. It has been quite a while now. And I guess that's about it. I would like Jimmy to present himself and to explain what he wants. Wait.
Explain what I want. Okay. So hi, I'm Jimmy Wales, founder of Wikipedia. I first joined Wikipedia in January 15th, 2001. And made an edit, which was quickly reverted as vandalism. But so it's been a very short period of time now. It's 6.5 years that we've been around, and it seems to me like maybe about 1 or 2 years. It all seems so recent and so fast, but now it's starting to be a rather long period of time, and we've come an amazing way in that period of time. But one of the things that's been true from the very beginning is that the website and the projects are incredibly successful, very fast growing, to such a degree that the organization behind it has always lagged behind. It's always been very difficult to build a proper organization because we were all so busy working in the community making Wikipedia great. So now finally we are beginning to move forward in good ways. The last year was a really good year, in terms of where we got the foundation to. Florence taking on the role of chair, which is absolutely no fun, and you get blamed for everything. So it's been really good for me that Florence is the chair, yes. But she's done an amazing job of really getting us on track, getting us organized, starting to get us in a much more systematic way, building the organization so that we can have the capacity to do a lot of the kinds of things that we've all always dreamed about. My primary role these days, and the thing that I like doing the most, is really doing evangelism. And for me, the outreach and evangelism that's becoming more and more important is the outreach in parts of the world that are not the United States and Europe. So I've been to India, for example, 3 times in the last year. This is my first I'm in Asia now, and I'll be in Asia 2 more times before the end of this year. So I'm trying to spend as much time in these areas to help all the other parts of the world begin to grow. I'm going to South Africa twice between now and the end of the year to try to help get some communities started there. So for me, that's what I'm focused on more than anything else. I think the English language Wikipedia, where I'm still very active, is but it seems to be doing okay. I don't think it needs me to promote it anymore. Now it's time for all of us to start thinking about all of these other languages and all these other places in the world. And I think it's really interesting to think about how we, as communities, can reach out and help other language communities where Wikipedia barely even exists today. It's a little distressing sometimes when you look at the languages of Africa and you see how little work has been done, and to think about we have so many people who have such goodwill. What are some of the things that each and every one of us could do to try to organize projects to reach out, help, educate people, assist those smaller communities to get started? So that's kind of what my interests are and where I'm looking forward in the future.
That was a fabulous introduction. Yes. Now you finally know what he does. You didn't know before. Okay, who's next? Jean-Bart.
Hi, so my name is Jan-Bart de Vrede. I've been appointed board member as of December last year, and I'm also the vice chair as of January. So if Florence falls over due to all the pressure, I get to catch her and put her back up there. So that's my only, and feed her stroopwafels apparently. Now I'm also very involved with a lot of the stuff which we're trying to get done to get everything up and running, as Jimmy described, and I'm very excited to be able to sort of see now that we're getting to a point where we're able to go into a normal board mode and get to focus on more, basically the more fun issues such as education. I'm really looking forward to getting more involved in the projects which involve wikis in education, like Wikiversity or any other projects like Wikibooks. And this is actually something I'm already doing in my day job, which is I work for Kennisnet in the Netherlands as part of the user-generated content team and the portal team. So, and I'm very excited to be here. This is actually my 3rd Wikimania, but the first one is an official member of the community or an official something of Wikimedia.
Hi, my name is Kat Walsh. I've been involved with the project since 2004. I was appointed to the board in December 2006 when they added 2 more seats, and I was recently re-elected for another term. I'm currently a law student studying internet and technology law, and I was a classical musician before that, but I got interested in these issues and working with Wikimedia. My primary interest on the board is in free content, free culture, free software, and maintaining the values that have helped us to grow and flourish, and to make sure that we keep to those values as we expand and as we explore more opportunities.
Eric?
Hello, I'm Eric Müller from Berlin in Germany, and I've been on Wikipedia and as soon as there existed other projects from around when Florence joined as well. And professionally I've worked for a long time as a journalist and writer, but recently I've actually also tried to professionalize my involvement in wikis and co-founded a new separate non-profit where I'm doing that. And on the board level, I was elected to the board by many of those of you who voted. Thanks for that. Last year and re-elected this year. And I think my focus right now, the primary thing is really getting the organization to the point that it actually manages the actual work that volunteers are doing, not just on the projects, but in the organization itself, and achieves the missions that it sets. Because I think right now we have a large diversity of very, very different goals. We have projects like Wikibooks, Wikinews, Wikisource, Wiktionary, Wikiversity, etc. All of those trying to do actually things that are very, very different in nature. And I think it would be very, very ambitious to try to, right now, build an organization that does all of that in a centralized manner. And I don't think that could work at all. And I think we need to manage our huge and tap our huge potential of volunteers that have expertise in all of those areas and empower them to do what they think is necessary in their countries, in their regions. So I think we need to find new ways for volunteers to organize. Like, for instance, the Ubuntu Linux projects has what they call Ubuntu teams that are rather informal ways for volunteers to join together around a common cause or in a particular region and do things that they consider important. And I think we need to empower Wikimedia volunteers in the same way. And the other issue that's very important to me is technological innovation. I'm probably the most tech-centric board member right now, and I'm constantly pushing the board, as they will readily attest, to make sure that technology is on the agenda and that we do not lose sight of innovation as we grow as an organization. And I think what we want to avoid is not that some other non-profit does a wonderful free culture project that has the similar aim. That would be great. I would have no problem with that. But you know, the opposite scenario, a Googlepedia or a whatever, Yahoopedia or a Yahoo video collaboration project that does wonderful educational content but under a non-free license and doesn't share our free culture vision. I think that's why it's important that we innovate, that we continue to innovate in technology and bring people new ways to collaborate, both in terms of the content but also the quality of the content.
Hello, I'm Frida Brioschi, I'm Italian. I'm one of the oldest and still active users of Italian Wikipedia. I joined the project on 2003. In 2005, I was one of the founders of the Italian chapter, the first president. I'm still in the role. I will finish my assignment at the end of this month. I was elected by the community to join the board a couple of weeks ago. And in this moment, I am a kind of a silent member because I have to study.
Thank you, Frida. So where's Andrew?
We agreed all questions go to Frida. And we're ready to take some questions from the audience and also from IRC when we get a chance. Okay, let me first get Brian here.
Florence, during your keynote, you were making a point about how the servers run open source software, and there's always talk about licenses. The content's under the GNU Free Document License. A lot of our software is under the GPL, and you were just talking about our free culture. And Jimmy, over time, you've always been an open source evangelist. But at this conference, Florence, your slide was on Microsoft Windows. All of the internet kiosks were on Microsoft Windows. Almost all of the laptops used for talks were on Microsoft Windows. So I would just like to challenge the board to put a conference on next year that uses non-proprietary software so that our values can more permeate what we do. Thank you.
this is the third time I hear that. I heard that in Frankfurt, and then I heard that in Boston, and that's the third time. First, I don't run on Windows. I have a Macintosh. That's not better, right? But still, it's a point. I do not run on Windows. That's important. I have tried. I try as much as I can, Firefox, Thunderbird, and all the others. But there are two areas in which I just cannot use free software. This is, for me, Photoshop and PowerPoint. The only software I met on Macintosh working, equivalent of Photoshop, is a horror. It's horrible. I can't use it. So I'm sorry, until developers have made something better and more usable, well, I will not. I'm not a tech person, so it's too difficult. As for PowerPoint, I'm sorry, just do the work. If you do the work, next year I'm on something else. The other thing is PowerPoint. I met a major problem. A few months ago, my computer broke. It was Sunday, and the Monday morning I was leaving to do a presentation somewhere. So I reinstalled entirely my computer during the night. And then I installed OpenOffice, and I did my presentation on this, and then I got to the conference, and when they wanted to install my computer over there and the presentation, well, it didn't work. So during half an hour, this lady there spent time doing hotline to try to find a solution so I could make my presentation with some slides. And I mean, there were 500 people in the room waiting for me because we couldn't find a way. It was very stressful. I'm not ready to do that again until there is a certain degree of guarantee that it will work. The problem was that when I tried to export the open source software to do a PDF, so at least I could find a solution, it was exploding each time. So it was a bug, and that bug prevented me to work properly. I'm all for using free software as long as I can really work with it. So when it works, I will definitely go there. But until then, you need to fix it.
Any other comments from the board members on this issue? Yeah, Eric?
Dangerous. All right, so I think I'd like to get you all thinking about one particular challenge, which is that many non-profit organizations like the Wikimedia Foundation actually use the same software or at least face the same problems. So as an example, in the Wikimedia Foundation, we use an open source software called OTRS. And we use that as a ticket management system. So all emails that come to Foundation email addresses that we need to distribute can be distributed using that ticketing system. So if there are any particular problems in that ticketing system, I'm sure we could pay a developer to fix those problems. But I'm also sure that many other nonprofits that use that software probably have similar problems. So I'd like to get you thinking about what we can do to network nonprofits to solve problems together that they have with the open source software that they share, because we are not in a competitive space. We're in a cooperative space, and I think we should make the best possible use of that. The other point is that when it comes to using open source software, in the office, there's still quite a lot of Windows and Mac users as well, and I'm not particularly happy about that. But at the same time, my priority as a board member when it comes to policy making is not to micromanage the office or what Florence runs on her laptop, but it's to make sure that people who access our websites from all over the world can do so without using proprietary software. That is the absolute top priority. That goes for new innovations as well as existing functionality. So for example, we had a discussion here about a new tool for video collaboration, which was a pretty cool tool, but it was entirely built in Flash. Now Flash does not run adequately yet in open source players, and it probably also has patent issues which might not be resolvable. But at the very least, we should try to make it fully run on open source software before we deploy something like that. So these are the policy issues that I focus on, and I'd love to see Sue and others in the organization who are more involved on the operational level also have it part of their agenda to ensure that open source software is used when viable, but it's not quite as high a priority, to be frank.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for?
Yes, I see you have your male-female ratio taken care of on the board, but are you all white guys? Where's your people of color, etc.?
I guess that what I was saying sooner, as long as people candidate are the wrong color, no, I think that was probably one of the big reasons we decided to come here this year. We needed to meet more people. Jimbo is traveling all the time, so he's meeting Wikipedians from all over. I don't think the issue is really the representativity with color, ratio of sex, or whatever, gender, or whatever. But that's really first communicating. One of the things I just love for the preparation of Wikimania, I think I counted that the team organizing it was from 8 different nationalities, and we had the mailing list bilingual. So sometimes some of the messages you had no idea what it was talking about, and still the result was just great. We made it. So I think it's over time when we mix like this, we will, after a while, we do not even know where the people come from. Many of them here, I have no idea whether they're from Australia, Africa, or wherever. They're just there and they just help. And for me, that's what is important. So it will come. I'm convinced it will come, but it will take more time.
You're fine.
It's on, yeah. So it's one thing that I absolutely agree with, and I'm just going to echo what Florence has said, but in my own words. Our projects are fully global, and we have people contributing in languages from all over the world, and yet at the foundation level, we've been traditionally very Europe and US centered. Lots of people involved came from those languages because that was where we became big first, right? Over time, I mean, one of the first steps forward was the real interest and concern from the very early days that we not be too dominated by English Wikipedia. And so it was really great when Florence was elected to the board and we started to have a lot of participation from Europeans in the foundation affairs, so that problem was very quickly solved. Now it's time for more people from all around the world to join in and participate, and that's exactly why we're here. And well, please, everyone, get involved. Yes.
Just a quick follow-up on Terry. Do you have any sense, or does the board have any sense on what the right mix of elected board members versus appointed board members is? Is there anything that you folks have discussed that you can disclose to the rest of us in terms of your thinking about that?
It has been discussed a lot a year ago. It was in fall, right? And we didn't all agree. So it took some while, and we did it the Wiki way. We reached a consensus which is neither entirely satisfactory for everyone, neither unacceptable for anyone. So I think in the end, the amount is pretty okay. I think Eric can comment on that further because he wants absolutely all members to be elected. I'm not sure, you will comment on that later. I'm rather supportive of having some appointed people. In particular because this allows us to introduce as well some external, between quotes, people who can have a fresh view of what is going on and can bring another perspective. And well, it can be also an opportunity to bring in some people precisely from other cultures, which currently are not spontaneously elected.
I just wanted to say that that is actually one of the best reasons to have, and I think the board should expand further. We have 7 now. I think the board generally, I'm not sure everyone agrees, but generally agrees that a little bit bigger board would be good. And one of the reasons to have a slightly larger board is to have more space for more diversity on the board. And an appointed seat could be very powerful for helping to make sure that happens. I mean, one of the things about all of the elected board members here is that they are all famous Wikipedians, and they're famous in large languages. If we want to have a board member to really represent the African community, well, it's going to be hard for a person to get elected because they're not going to be well known in the community, and so that might be an opportunity for an appointment. Also, you know, different skill sets, different things that we might not expect that we would find from our community. we may want to find somebody with a particular, nonprofit fundraising skill set that we don't have within our community, and that would be another opportunity for an appointed board member.
So the bylaws currently say that the majority of the board have to be from the community. They don't say that they have to be elected or appointed from the community. And that is the part that I take slight issue with. I'd love to have it clearly say that the majority has to be elected from the community. At the same time, I'm also happy with the minority of the board being appointed in order to, as you said, fill certain skill slots. For instance, we need a treasurer. We right now have Michael Davis as treasurer. His activity has gone down in recent months. He is a little bit busy with his work as Chief Operating Officer of Wikia. He couldn't even make it here. He has done wonderful work for us in the past, but we will need someone else to fill that role in the future. And it's not clear that we could easily fill such a specialized role by just having a community election. Similarly, it would be helpful for us to have more legal expertise on the board. As for diversity, I'm somewhat reluctant to just commit to, we're going to have one black guy on the board and therefore we have diversity, yeah! I don't think that's how it works, right? To me, it matters more that there is a commitment among all board members to actually the values that we're talking about here, that we're trying to collaborate equally with everyone and that we create equal opportunities. So I'm not sure a quota or anything like that would be a good idea, but I'd certainly take it into account that someone who we consider as a candidate for the board brings a particular unique perspective to us that we don't currently have. That is what I'd be looking for.
I have a follow-up question to this. I would like to address it to Jan Bart, who is the minority right there, sitting at this table. As an appointed board member, do you feel that your position is different, and do you feel that your role is different? And if that's the case, how?
I don't think my position is that different. I do think that I try to continue to be amazed by the miracle of Wikimedia, as in I keep on trying to look in from the outside, which is going pretty well so far. On the other hand, I've been around for a while, but my background is a business administration, which is not a very common background, I guess, and none of the other board members seem to have that background. And that helps a lot as well, especially in this phase of the organization, I guess, when we're trying to build up a proper organization with normal procedures and everything. So in that way, I think my area, expertise is a heavy word, but my area of interest and my comments on the board are on that level. That makes them slightly different than, I guess, other people. But for example, when community matters come up, I try to sort of avoid getting involved in discussion because I'm not qualified enough to have an opinion on them. So I usually listen to other members on the board who are much more involved with the community.
Hi, I've got a question from IRC. A user called Nick J has said, can we please have some more information on the suggested direct print-on-demand service and that has been mentioned throughout the conference? And for example, would users be able to get PDFs for gratis as well as Libra free? Thank you.
So there have been some discussions with a German company that is currently running a website that offers print-on-demand services for Wikipedia, and we've signed a contract with them to integrate their services and their technology to a certain extent with Wikipedia. And that also involves building open source wiki-to-print tools. I'm not going to get into many more specifics because I want to avoid a vaporware situation. So I don't want to make a big announcement, we're going to deliver X, Y, and Z by that date because those milestones haven't been fully defined yet. So, but I'm going to say that it's certainly one of our goals to provide our readers with the ability to select articles from Wikipedia, to order printed copies thereof in high quality, and to make also that technology available to other wiki installations that need it.
One criticism of the Board of Trustees is that none of the members strictly have any experience dealing with non-profit organizations. Is there or will there be any plan to rectify this or improve it?
Actually, my day job is at a non-profit. I work 6 years at the Kenneth Foundation, but some of the issues are the same, and some of the issues are much more, intense at this non-profit foundation. But I think the general principle is that the general non-profit principle is present in, I think, the mindset of most board members. But as far as I'm concerned, I have experience in that area, and I use it almost daily. So.
Otherwise, in terms of what the future is, because in this case it would, since the elected board member or not from a non-profit organization for now, though Eric, I'm not sure. The other solution is appointed board member. So normally 3 people appointment will end up in December, since appointed member of 1 year. So the 3 members stopping being appointed in December will be Jimmy. Well, I guess we'll keep you. That's the good news. I don't know. I'm not sure. The other guys didn't vote yet. We'll see. The second one is Jean Bart. So this is something we already planned to discuss in around September, October. Whether he wants to go on, whether we want him to go on. That's open to discussion. The third one is Michael, and I think it's a secret for no one. Michael is less and less involved because he just has more and more activity with Wikia in particular since they moved to San Francisco, which is very, very busy. So he's still helping us on financial issues right now, but he wants to just drop the place and go on his way, which means we will need to replace him. The situation we meet is that currently we have in particular no financial audit accounting skills on the board. So I think, it's something really important, right? So I tend to think that if we look for someone, it will be someone with this type of background. And I would add that it would probably be best that it would be someone from the US because, if it's to be the treasurer, it would make sense. And if on top of that it would be from a non-profit, it would be better as well. But we just need to find this person, right? That's 3 months.
Talking about money, I just have a question about fund drive and donations. Up to now, there was every few months or a few years a fund drive and a list of goals that should be paid with this fund drive, but you could not donate, especially for specific goals, and then see, here's the money I want, for instance, a backup server, I want developer or things like that, and then if there's enough money, you have to use this money, or I don't vote you again. It's just a big bowl and a lot of too many goals, and so will you give the possibility so I can donate just for specific goals?
Yeah, I will give it to you. I'm 100% behind you. This is one of the things I was thinking of 2 or 3 years ago, but it was never set up. But yeah, absolutely. So to have the possibility to give either for whatever reason or for a specific goal, it's super important. Please, Sue.
Oh, that's good. Let's give the job.
So the idea of donations towards specific goals, I think, is in general a good one, but there's also the concern that it restricts your ability to act, right? You say you have 3 or 4 or 5 budgets that are restricted to be used in a particular scope. What can you then do as a foundation when the nature of your operations changes radically because of some unexpected event that happens? So I think we need to very carefully experiment with something like that. And one idea that has come up to do that, for instance, in the area of quality or another specified area, and to raise specific funds towards goals in that area, and to maybe have a sort of goal statement that says, we're going to pledge that we're going to try our best to use it within that scope, except in emergency situations or something like that. So in general, I agree with you. We should give people more ways to support specific activities, but we also need to be careful to learn how to manage that.
Okay. Brianna?
There are a lot of people here who might be familiar with the board and understand who you guys are and communicate on the mailing list and things, but there are a lot of people who also this might be the first time that they really see the board and understand what the board does. So for those people, how do you recommend that they get involved with communicating with the board? And if they have something that they think maybe is appropriate for the board to address, how should they go about that?
Someone's got to answer that question. So.
I'm sorry, Brianna, it was his fault. He was. What did you ask?
How does the board, or how do people communicate with the board better? Is that right?
Repeat the question.
New people. So how do new people involved with the community communicate more with the board, or how does interaction happen?
is a good idea. I can read again afterwards. I don't know.
Would you like it?
I'm sure she has an idea.
Right. Well, the first thing to remember is that except for the appointed member, the only person who really didn't come from the communities at this point is Jan Bart, and we love him. But all of us started out just like everybody in this community. We started editing, we started getting involved just for the love of it, and eventually we kind of got drawn in. We started participating on the mailing lists, we started participating in policy discussions. And I think the best way to get involved is to participate in some of these discussions that happen on the mailing lists, on the policy pages, get involved with your local chapters, or if there isn't one, start one. You get together with other people who feel the way you do, and if there's something that's really important to you, it's probably important to a lot of other people as well. Get community support behind it, work out proposals, work out the pros and the cons, and then you have something really important and really well to discuss on the mailing lists. And then we really do pay attention to this. We really do discuss in meetings, this thread came up on the mailing list. People are really concerned about this. We should discuss this. And I think that's the best way to get involved. There's no official channel. You don't have to have something officially stamped. You just have to be visible. You have to have support behind you. You have to have good arguments for what you want to do, and we really do listen to that.
I'll add maybe something on this, because there were many requests for example, open IRC meeting, which is fine, but I never find them very constructive because it's more of a mess, everybody talking together. I'm not sure. Even when there is a specific goal, until it's undefined and we have no idea really what we want to do, it goes nowhere. So I think it's probably rather better when an idea show up to try to collect slowly in a little group to work together. Usually 4 or 5 people is great. Above this number, it gets nowhere. So I don't. Well, right now we have too many lists. It's quite messy. But I think if there is an idea that is, and the other problem is of course the number of trolls on the public list. But, so it's probably better to either try if you have an idea about something specific you want to build, to see who is also interested, and then to contact and start talking in little groups, whether privately or publicly doesn't matter, but without making a big buzz around it, because otherwise it goes nowhere. I think in effect it's often difficult, not so much because it gets disorganized, but rather because there are so many things coming to us that if we are very interested, well, we jump on the stuff, but we are not very interested. There are so many things we can't keep up with this. It has been the main problem in the past few months, just working so much and not keeping up. So I think it was the same for all of us. So I hope that thanks to this lady here, we'll manage to have a pace a little bit down and to focus on some of our projects. The other thing I hope we do is at least to focus on big goals, and as much as possible to jump on the project that fits within these big goals. But otherwise, all of us have different interests basically on the board, and as much as possible, rather than coming either only to Jimmy to ask in case he's traveling a lot, or to me who is drawn entirely, also not to hesitate to go to the board member who you think is the most likely to be interested by your project, so that you can start working a little group about that. I think so. But I know it's tricky.
Yeah, so another piece of this whole puzzle is that the board is unbelievably overworked. And so there's a constant inflow of really great ideas and really bad ideas and just noise, and all kinds of different things. And things have traditionally sometimes gotten lost in the shuffle. And so one of the things that I think is helpful when someone wants the board to do something is to recognize how little time we have to actually do it. So a very common thing you see, as she said, there's lots of trolls on the mailing list. You'll see somebody will say, well, the foundation should do this. Why doesn't the board do this? And even if it's something that we all say, yeah, it's a good idea, it's going to require coordinating 20 or 50 people. It's going to require writing up a basic document and having the community analyze it and adapt it and figure out something about it, come to some consensus. It's really hard for us to do that. Whereas if somebody takes the initiative to say, I'll lead a project to construct something, what are the board's concerns? What are the things that we would need to get done in order to make this happen? Wow, that's great. That's what we really need, because it's a tragedy when a volunteer is frustrated because the board won't act, and the board is frustrated because we would like to act, but we don't have time to even sit down and write up the resolution and things like that.
Yeah. I'd like to echo Jimmy's point on that there are a lot of things we'd really like to do, but we're only 7 people, only 6 of us here right now, and there's only so much that the board can do. But there is a lot of things that the community can do by themselves, and one thing I'd really like to see start doing more often is having community committees or work groups of people who do feel that they have the authority to make decisions, who do feel that they can be more of a point of contact, and who don't feel like they have to ask the board about everything, who have kind of a scope of, okay, these things we can do, these things we can empower the community to do, and not just have it go through this bottleneck of like 6 people. So.
Yeah, as a final thing to that, I don't know how many of you attended yesterday's meeting at the end of the day, the panel discussion on the changing nature of the community. I'm sort of convinced that that was a really important discussion to be having, but unfortunately there was a little time reserved for it. And if we limit ourselves to mailing lists or physical meetings to discuss these issues, we'll be sort of lagging behind way there. So I'm actually very interested in trying to find new ways of trying to get the quick fixes for those kind of problems, or the quick wins or whatever, or do idea gathering on wikis or whatever to try and identify certain themes just to get everybody to think and to contribute their ideas to solving certain problems like this problem, which can definitely not wait to be solved on a bigger meeting, a physical location, wherever we are next year. It needs to be done in the meantime. So we need to improve our communication methods amongst ourselves and not just rely on a wiki page or a mailing list or just email. There have to be better ways. Other companies are doing it and other organizations are doing it. We should be able to.
Question by James then?
Actually, yeah, Sebastian, really. This is James. Anyway, one of the jobs for the board is policy formulation, it seems, and it seems like in the last couple of times you've done that, there was a certain surprise element to the policies being just announced, and a certain backlash from communities or people that are affected by these policies. So what strategies are you going to engage in so in the future, when you do formulate a policy, that A, it won't be a surprise, that communities will be involved in formulating those policies, that there is no need to make immediate revisions right after announcement? What are you planning on doing that?
Can you give a specific example?
The two that immediately come to mind are, one, the licensing policy, and then the identification requirements for Czech users and OTRS.
I guess there are 2 things. The first is whether we should come up with a policy which is entirely set up and fixed in stone at first, or whether we should come up. I mean, if you are on Wiki right now, you discuss together. Well, sometimes you set up a policy and then you try it. And if it doesn't work, you change some part of it. Even if you had a first consensus on it, it evolves over time. And the last time I would, in particular for the privacy data policy, I think it was exactly it. It was, first was published, and there was some improvement brought afterwards, after a while. And I perceive it's nothing shocking to do it this way. Now it seems to me that in this specific case, there was an expectation that it would be just perfect from the very beginning. our problem right now, if we try to do something like this, we have to each time go again and again to the community to ask what they think. And more than once, we ask and we get basically no feedback. I would like to give just one example because it was really frustrating to me. Last October, we worked on a new definition of the mission and the vision. We spent a lot of time on this, rephrasing it. Then Eric Pastor, he was in charge of that. He posted it on it. He asked some feedback. There were hardly ever, a little bit of feedback, but very little. Then no discussion whatsoever. So we approve it, and then people complain. So, well, fine. There will always be people complaining. Sometimes it will be just a little bit of complaint, sometimes it will be a lot of complaint, and even then our problem is to identify at which point there is enough complaint so that we do something and change the policy. It's a bit frustrating for us to see that when we try to discuss it, it takes a lot of time, and in any cases there are complaints afterwards because people didn't take the time to comment. So the next time we think we'll go a little bit quicker, we do something with a little bit discussion and feedback, and then of course there are complaints again. The best thing I can say is that we can always fix a policy if there are some details not working, such as the travel policy we set up. There are fine details to improve. Well, it's a first draft. We can use it for 2 months, 3 months, see how it works, and then modify the little things. So that's my first answer to this. The second, I will, I think, let her discuss it. It was the license thing. There will always be people complaining, always. I don't know what you think.
In particular with the licensing, well, for one, it wasn't particularly new. It was more of like setting down in more clear detail like what exactly it was that we meant to do. And for another, it really was discussed beforehand. Like we posted, I posted a letter saying, what we were going to do and where we were going to do it, and Eric posted a draft of what the policy was probably going to be before it happened, and there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of complaint, and not everything was integrated into the policy that was published, but it doesn't mean it wasn't looked at and considered. It just means we looked at it, we considered it, and we have to make a decision one way or the other, and it may not make everybody happy, but that's...
Since we're running short on time, I'd just like to do one last question that we want to do for the whole board, and maybe we can start with Frida, since we don't want to leave you without any words on the other side. For the board, what do you think is the most important thing for the board to do this next year? No, you're all grimacing, but what do you think should be the highest priority or some of the most important things the board should do this next year? And maybe we can go across and then have Anter as the final wrap-up on this. Simple questions.
Okay. Probably make more communication about projects other than Wikipedia and let them grow in more faster.
Well, I'll just keep saying what I keep saying, which is organizing volunteers, coordinating volunteers, meta-management of the diversity of goals that we have. Organizational growth is clearly the key priority right now. It's boring. It's not particularly exciting, but it has to be done if we want to become the volunteer organization that I think we should be. That's, to me, the most important thing.
For me, it's assisting in the building of the infrastructure of the foundation as an organization, making sure that the organization itself has sufficient capacity to deal with all the incoming possibilities, opportunities that could really help us to do all kinds of things that we all want to do. So, organizational structure.
Okay. My answer is going to be mostly the same as Jimmy's. Also, like stabilizing this organizational structure. As some people might know, we've had a lot of internal crisis and problems lately, and we're finally working on making that more stable and getting to a place where we can explore the more exciting things and the more interesting goals. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Because Jimmy already said I don't have to. So my point would be, I think what we touched upon yesterday is making the Wikimedia projects accessible to everyone and trying to lower the barriers. It's typically not something the board should do. It's something everybody should do outside of the board. But for some reason, I think we're not facilitating that well enough. We should definitely be spending a lot of energy on making sure there's a platform and ways and means for people to arrange this for themselves and make sure the community is enabled to do this.
I think I first follow all the comments here. I think the most urgent right now is really the infrastructure. So, well, that's really the urgent one. Aside from that, the more interesting things, maybe. I looked at many presentations this year, and I was happier than last year, because last year was, I don't know, I felt there were so many big speakers. I went to listen to all the big speakers, and I lost most of the community presentation. And this year, finally, I got that time. And I saw many improvement and things that were boiling right now that we can either just accept or facilitate or sometimes give a little push. There was the GIS thing that is, wow, waiting that for 6 years, so that's, wow. There was the work done by Luca, for example, related to the quality and all these things, which was very cool as well. I was very excited by the semantic web stuff, but I'm aware it's not for the coming year. But all these things all together, that's a lot about the usability, and I will come back to the discussion yesterday. It was really a good panel. I regretted that you didn't put more international people on the stage, but it was a very interesting discussion, really. And all this discussion about the shifting communities and the usability issue are very important to me. That was the moment when I was listening to everyone, I realized that around 2 or 3 we were all changing the skins and adding plenty of functionalities, and since then it seems that things are stalled somehow. We have a bunch of links everywhere. It's hard to edit, hard to find things, hard to join. When I go to a template, I'm lost. I don't know how to edit a table. The info box are scary. Yeah, the last time I went, I wanted to edit an article about an animal, and with all these things, well, I gave up. I went to a simple thing. And this might be the priority for the year, because this has plenty of implications, such as more people joining, such as making it easier for people simply to feel comfortable, and probably naturally because of that, reducing somehow the level of vandalism, because of this welcome situation. And that might be maybe, I changed a bit my mind. I thought rather quality was an issue, but I think usability might be more urgent than quality in the end. Because quality is improving, in spite of all the things said by the press right now, I think the usability is probably a higher problem than quality. That might be one. The second point will be probably to start working much more with some external projects, such as the Moulin Wiki I saw, but others as well in African countries. We are just reaching the moment where many organizations want to help us reach out these places. Some of them, I don't think they have much to give us except for a bit of reputation and some contacts over there. So I hope it will be something we will work probably more, not before spring next year, but that might be cool. And the last one is about this concept of being recognized as a non-profit and sharing our values. This probably do not come through enough, but there was a scenario drafted the other day about what do we do if, for example, Google changed its algorithm and our traffic drops, which would be nice. But I can imagine at the same time the press saying, wow, Wikipedia was number 10 and now it's only number 50. It's horrible, that's because of the quality. What happened? What happened if Google or whoever start another encyclopedia which begins to have some success as well, maybe Citizendium, though I doubt it. How will we explain to people the difference between this other encyclopedia having some success and ours? Well, essentially through the values. So I think this is something on which we need to communicate much more without going to political activism. And this is something we can all do together.